All right, just to start off, I meant to do this the other day, but you have a few injury availability updates. We'll have Jordan Sanders, Cam Brooks, and Jaden O'Neal will all be out for this spring. As we look, a couple of them, just looking at it, are expecting Jordan to be back here this summer. To be back into workouts, preparing for what's ahead this year. Cam will probably be a little bit more extensive. Probably going to look at midway through the season. Definitely you have a plan right now of you're thinking about 4 games for him here this next year, and as he rehabs and continues to get ready for what's ahead. Was really pleased with some of the things we saw from him early, but unfortunately be out for just a little bit longer period of time. And then Jaden O'Neal will actually miss this upcoming fall, so he'll be out. Something that you came in with, and we're able to start the process for his rehabilitation, and but he's done a really nice job. Getting in the quarterback room, starting to learn. Doing a very, very good job staying engaged and very active when it comes to that. But just want to give you guys that as we started off. Today was what you want from a first day, and you take all the walkthroughs, you take the meetings, the agility work that we go to do, and you want to see a team that'll come out and take the information, the installs, and work to play fast. And there's a lot of the detail things that I thought were good, but still some elements that we're going to get cleaned up. Now that we've transitioned from walkthrough, getting in a formation, being able to have a call. Now you're out there and it's full speed, and you're working to do things at great tempo, and it still comes down to make sure we're getting a proper alignment, getting a great stance, and taking a good first step to put ourselves in position. So I thought it was a very productive first day. There were some shots on ball defensively that I liked. I think we were able to jar one free. Of one of our young freshmen offensive players, so something they could definitely learn from. Had a couple hands on ball in the defensive backfield. I thought the quarterbacks really did a really good job. Being able to go and have control of what we did today, located the ball well. I mean, there's a couple explosive plays, that showed up down the field. But all in all, I think it felt like it was a team that came with a good understanding to day one, and now we get to continue to work on the details of what's necessary and going to get better. You just in helmets, so there's very limited contact at all, and so obviously we'll build up for Friday to see the physical element of it. But the guys moved well and moved confident.
First question will be Chris over here on your left.
As you work towards the spring and talking to Ashton, what have you and his conversation been about, and what have you told him that you want to see him improve upon versus what he saw on film?
Yeah, really it's his command, control of the things he's being asked to do. That's where, as he comes in, and this is really his 4th offense since he's been in college to have to learn, and so that is it's a good thing when it comes to a lot of things that you can fall back on. There's not much that we're asking him to do that's totally different than something that he's done before. So there are some foundational elements that he can pull upon, but now it's how we do it and the finer details. Where we want eyes. Obviously the locations, the reads. All those things have kind of worked together. We've had some conversations leading into it of things that he likes. Things that I've seen him do well on film, and as we're putting all that together, some things that really fit that we knew coming in that would be a really good fit for his skill set. So I thought he threw the ball really well today. He's able to locate it. You could tell that those guys, receivers, quarterbacks. For the first day, you could see the work that they've done on their own, and so it was pretty clean when it came to that, and he had a really good control. I thought he played fast, and it's what you want for a first day.
We'll go over to Ira.
You guys bring in a bunch of transfer offensive linemen again, like last year, but we've heard a lot in the last couple months about the Andre Otto, Jaden
I mean, there's going to absolutely be some competition, and you look at, I think some of the young guys that have been here that have grown, developed. I mean, you take Otto, you mentioned Jaden, Jonathan Daniels, Sandman. I mean, those guys are. I mean, they're really pushing, and we got some really young guys they're here that just were freshmen last year as well that I think have a chance to take a great step, and so. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, the guys that have come in, they do have experience, and whether it's, you take Paul Bolin, who's is a true sophomore, but he was able to play 12 games this last year, and you felt him as a freshman, and now he gets to take another step, and so I mean it's going to be really competitive with that group, but I'm excited about what I've seen up to this point, and definitely excited about. Friday once we get to put some pads on and see these guys work to move people.
All right, we'll go to Ryan in the third row.
Taking back over the offense as the primary play caller. Now that you've had practice under your belt, has that kind of changed how your practice flow goes?
No, I mean obviously in practice there's we script as an offensive staff, and we know some of the things that we want to see. We want to make sure that we address, and it's the same that it's always been, since I've been calling offenses. There'll be times where we will go, series and just call it off the cuff, and that'll be times where it's different. But Tim, the offensive staff. I mean, I thought they did a really good job today. I'm gonna be active. I'm gonna be active as a head coach. I mean, running, making sure that everything, offense, defense, special teams looks a certain way. When we're in those team situations, obviously I'm, very aware of all where things what it needs to look like offensively. But also, I want to make sure that as a football team that we're playing the way we need to play. We need to communicate in the way we need to communicate. We're finishing the way we need to finish. So, it's not that drastic, but I mean there are some subtle changes.
All right, we'll come back over here for Brendan.
Maybe the first 2-for-1. Wow.
Already.
Deuce, I know you talk about his maturity and just how he's leading. For him, like just from a skill set perspective, what would you like to see him clean up and just build on this year?
Yeah, I think when you look at a guy, Deuce does have a tremendous skill set. To have his size, I think he's done a great job with his body. Continue to work his flexibility. You see him as a guy that can be a great separator, and to be able to have the vertical presence of what he's shown to be able to do down the field, but then the efficiency in the intermediate passing game, finishing plays. He's had some great contested catches. I want to see him continue to grow in those areas, because people are always going to know where he's at, and he's going to find a variety of different coverages this year, techniques. I mean, he's got to continue to be efficient with every movement to maximize his separation, to be a guy that can do even more, post ball in hand. You said 2-for-1, but I was only 1-for-1.
Well,
You want next up is Brendan.
kind of related. So you have Deuce, you kind of know what you have with him, and then with Makai, I think he's doing some track throughout the spring. What opportunities for other guys exist to establish?
Yeah, no, I mean, and Makai was out today, and so was able to get practice. We're going to be smart with him, here, especially early as he's, getting the indoor or getting the track work, coming off indoor, now getting ready for the outdoor season. But he was able to get some work today, limited. We'll get, I think, most of the practices this week will be a primary football focus, and we'll pick and choose the places we're going to put them within practice. But it's good for some of these young guys, and I think Tay Gelsey is a guy I'm really excited about. Boggs had a good day today. With and without the ball in his hands, made a couple plays. It was really good to see. The freshman, Magic Mallory was he's been dealing with an injury a little bit throughout this early part of the season, but today he was back out there and ready to go. So it was good seeing him work. But I think all three of those guys were kind of what you want, seeing the step going into that second year, and for the young guys. I mean, I thought Devin Carter, he looked like what I expected today. I mean, he made some really good plays, showed good speed, ball skills. That was we have high expectations for him. Darion, EJ. I mean, you see the talent and ability. Now it's just getting into the details of the position. And so, I mean, but I really like, I think it's a talented group. So, yeah, I mean, it's those guys are all getting opportunities with some open doors. Obviously, Jason's finishing up with basketball, and hopefully he's, not with us for a little while longer. Obviously really happy for our basketball team and what they've done. But he tries to be as active as he can, doing some of the things one-on-one, and by himself, just as he's preparing.
Coach, leadership is something that can develop in the off-season and spring practices. We've heard a lot about Deuce, Andreato, but who are some of the guys that you're seeing emerge as leaders, not necessarily today, but in the off-season?
Yeah, I think, Daniel Lyons has really done an outstanding job on a defensive front. Daniel's been a guy that, he's seen it, he's done it. Deontay McCray is another guy. You got the, obviously just Sear twins. I mean, they've been working their butts off, and I've been really proud of them really throughout this offseason program. But, you take those, Deontay and Daniel, those guys have seen so much. And, they have a lot of ownership in this group, in this team. I think you feel the linebacking group. I mean, whether it's guys that have been here, OG, Blake, but then Chris Jones, Mekhi Bayer. I mean, those guys have played a lot of football, and there's an expectation and a standard which they bring to themselves that I think rubs off on others, and so it's good there. And then I really. I think Jabril, Q, even those guys are, both those guys are limited here, in what they're able to do here for the spring. But, their presence and, what they've been able to do and accomplish. I think Ashlyn Barker has been as vocal and active as what I've seen of him over the last 3 years. And, I mean, I think he's really putting himself in position. And some of the newcomers that we've added into that room, I mean, I love. I mean, I think, I'm going to let them continue to put it on film and, showcase what they can do, especially when we get pads on and all that. But, I mean, I really like that defensive backfield group, and it's good to see them work.
We have time for a couple more. Ira?
When Tatum came in a few years ago, it seemed like he elevated the whole linebacker core in terms of communication and all that. Do Chris and Mekhi have any ability to do that? What have you,
I think, and it's a good point of Tatum and what he was able to do with the group, but then you also saw the development of Kalen DeLoach. And as a guy that had been here, and he just continued to work, continued and those were two great complementary, guys for each other. And, I think that's really what, Mekhi, Chris, I mean, I think they've got a great deal of talent. You feel them. I mean, their presence on the field, speed, explosiveness. I mean, they were you felt them, out there running today. But then you also see, Blake, who's come in and has played, since he was a true freshman. You see his growth. OG, same. He's had the ups and downs of all of it. But I mean, those guys know it. They know what it looks like. They know the areas where they need to improve. And I think they've taken, a great deal of. There's a great deal of urgency for that growth on them, and I think it's a good group coming together.
All right, last one, Chris.
You talked about Barker a little bit to Paul's response. Tony mentioned that he will probably move around and play a few different spots. What makes him have the ability to do so, and how much have you been able to see that in one day?
Yeah, I mean, he's got length, speed, explosive power. I mean, last year towards the back part of the year, he was dealing with an injury that it hampered him, and it was something that was unfortunate because, I mean, I thought he played at a really high level, there early in the season, and then, there was some things that, were added challenges for him. But, I mean, I think he has, a great deal of flexibility of where he can align, what he can do. I mean, he's a really smart football player. So, I mean, being able to have multiple positions that you can play. And, I mean, anybody can line up at a position, but it's the ownership of a position, the calls, the communication. That's one of the, even in just my earlier response, like that's one of the things I've seen from him that's, night and day different is just his verbal command. And, he's never been the most vocal guy, but, I mean, whether it's in meetings, whether it's out there on the field, I mean, I'm hearing him, communicating with his teammates, taking that active role, which is something that we need, within the entire group, but obviously playing some of those different positions.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you, guys.